Hey everybody, welcome to today's Daily Distinction. Really glad that you are here. We've got a giveaway today, as we talked about yesterday. Going to be giving away some iconic books to those who are kind enough to share the program, and I invite you to do that right now. Thank you for jumping on here. So please share the program, and happy Cinco de Mayo to you. Marco has the comment that wins the day. We are stuck at our homes because of a virus with a Mexican beer day on Cinco de Mayo. So I love that comment, Marco. Thank you for that. It is so true. Here we are trapped by coronavirus on Cinco de Mayo. Something just seems so unfair. And because today is a celebration about that, we're going to be talking about the things that we appreciate and the things that we celebrate. Maybe you've noticed we kind of got a different look here than what we have. We're doing some work to create a better studio, and it is not completed yet, so this will even get better. But just wanted you to see a little of the progress that we're making. Now, according to my pal Ken Walls, we ought to be able to see more comments today on the comment section. But I've only seen Marco from earlier. Dwayne, he's glad he's here too. So thank you for that, Dwayne. I appreciate that greatly. So I don't know. We're going to find out. But in case you missed yesterday, part of what we talked about yesterday was that because of a change that Facebook had made, if you post a comment from my personal page, which is where a lot of folks were watching us, it won't show up in this application. So Ken, I don't know where you're posting from, and sorry, I was on a call, a conference, Zoom conference, and when you called earlier today, so I'll get back with you on that, but don't know where you're posted from, but good to see you. Hey, Diane, yeah, it could be good and bad. You got that right. So, Ken, super, you can see the comments now. That's what we want. Well, Phil, wouldn't be a show without you, my friend. Thank you. More comments, right? We've got them now, so good. So if you post wherever you're posting from, the comments are now coming through. So thanks for that. I got 3 folks. We put everybody's name in a hat that shared, and we're going to send you the book Iconic. I'll personalize that for you. By the way, though, I'll say this in advance. If you win and you already have the book Iconic and you prefer my book, The 7 Tenets of Taxi Terry, I can get that to you as well. And Ken says, I am on your personal page. So that is so good. And Ken is upgrading my camera for me. If you have tried to buy a camera to broadcast with, live stream with, you'll see they are gone. I mean, they are totally gone. And it's just crazy because you can't buy one. They're just absolutely gone. So Ken is kind enough. He had an extra, so he sent it a camera upgrade, and I'm using a different one today. In fact, Ken, I'm just going off my laptop as we move things around here for this. So anyway, we're going to give those books away in just a minute. We're going to talk about gratitude in just a minute, but I've got a couple special announcements that I want to make as people are joining us today. And thank you for being here. And would you take just a minute and share this? If you would do that, that would mean the world to help grow our viewers here. If you'll take just a moment and just share this with your followers, whether you're watching on Twitter or whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, wherever you might be seeing this, if you would share this, even if you're watching the replay, it really helps us when you share. So please share, and would love that. So got a couple of big announcements, and that is we've got some really cool guests coming. This coming Monday, so almost a week from yesterday, got the great news that my great friend Phil Jones, who is the author of one of the best books on sales that you'll ever read, it's called Exactly What to Say. He's got exactly what to say, exactly how to sell. I mean, he's got a line of exactly books. He's one of the biggest top-selling authors on Audible. And he's going to be here on Monday, and he will be here he's currently just outside of London, and he's originally from the UK. His wife is from the United States. They just had twins. They took their twins over to meet Phil's parents, and then all this broke out, and so they are in the UK. They're in London, and so he's been running his business from London, the London area, as he does all this. So it's going to be 8:00 at night his time when he joins us on Monday. But really looking forward on Monday to talking with Phil and catching up with Phil, and we will learn so much from Phil Jones. Okay, second thing. Second guest I want to tell you about, my great friend, one of my best pals in the world, is a guy named Derek Kinslow. And Derek has been in the entertainment industry and the music industry for a long, long time. His family was involved in it. He has been a speaker. He is now the road manager for the Oak Ridge Boys. And he's going to talk to us coming up in a couple of days about what's happening with the concert business, and what's happening with people getting together, and, what happens to the people that work for bands and groups that aren't out there traveling, and how do you keep your spirits up and your batteries charged when all this is going on. Derek is just a great guy. We're going to get a lot of insights from Derek about how do you deal with what we're dealing with right now, because they are certainly right in the middle of it, because the Oak Ridge Boys do more concerts than anybody I know. I mean, hundreds plus, 170 dates, I think it was last year. But Derek will tell us all about that. So Derek Kinslow is coming up. And then, biggest news of all, I just got a message from him not long before we went on. And my great pal, Joe Bonsall of the Oak Ridge Boys, is going to be joining us as a guest. I'll let you know tomorrow exactly when that's going to be, but he confirmed that he's going to do this, and we're working out the best day for him. But one of the Oak Ridge Boys, Joe Bonsall, and he's the guy that sings lead on Elvira. Richard is who goes Papa Mau Mau, but Joe is the lead singer of the mega iconic hit Elvira. Joe is a longtime 40-year plus member of the Oak Ridge Boys. And Joe's going to talk to us about, what happens during a time of pandemic. I mean, I would bet, and I meant to ask Joe this, and I forgot when we were dialoguing last night. I'll bet this is the most consecutive days he's been home in over 40 years, because the Oak Ridge Boys tour all the time. And even when they take a Christmas break or a spring break, whatever, they're not home that much. And so I'll bet you that'll be a question I ask. So how do you deal with that? But also, one of the things I think is amazing is the Oak Ridge Boys have been together a long time. The same guys, long time. How do you make a business work? How do you make teamwork work? So it's not just about entertainment, but Joe is going to be with us, and I'm really, really excited about that. He's a good friend and a great guy. And so I know that you're really, really going to enjoy hearing from Phil Jones and from Derek Kinslow and from Joe Bonsall as well. So really, really excited about that. And thanks to everybody that's sharing. Oh, gosh, you got it right, Diane. There's so many people working at home. Jeffrey, what are you upgrading to? Good question. Part of what we're doing is just moving things around to create more of a studio here in the office. I've got all the equipment, but I really haven't done a temporary green screen. We're going to put that up so we can use that. But a lot of different things that we're trying to do just to respond to our corporate clients, because people are asking more for virtual events. But Bruce, yeah, it's a great camera, isn't it? This is on my MacBook Pro. It's what I'm using right now. So, and Pam from my old stomping grounds there in the Hamilton proper area in Fishers, Indiana, suburban Indianapolis. Happy Cinco de Mayo to you too as well. Dwayne, thank you for sharing. Jeffrey, thank you for sharing. Diane, how to win over those objections. Yeah, that's right. Have you heard when your first speaking engagement is? Has anybody tried to establish a date for a meeting or a conference? Dwayne, we're working with a group right now they're planning on full speed ahead in July for an event in Indiana. So we'll see. We'll see. Right? But they are planning on that. The event is for a couple of hundred people. I mean, it's not like a 2,000, 5,000 event conference. It's a couple hundred people, but they are going ahead with it. But the crazy thing is I just booked a virtual speech in Asia, so that everybody in Asia is going to be the people attending the speech. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. Bruce, I think you are exactly right. This is the longest time. I'm thinking of Joe and those guys, because they travel by bus. So, if I've got a couple dead days, I can fly home. If they're, in Colorado and they've got a dead day, they end up staying on the road. So, but yeah, this is probably the longest time I've spent at home since I was 18. Because when I was 18, I was elected state president in Indiana of the FFA, and I went on the road at 18, and I haven't been off the road since. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. Oh man, Phil, thank you for that. Phil mentions the Success Journal and the Personal Priority Quiz, and I really, really appreciate that, Phil. Thank you. I hope that's of value to you. That is one of the free resources that you can get at distinctionnation.com. distinctionnation.com. It's there for you. So thank you for that. It's the Personal Priorities Quiz to help you get your priorities aligned with your goals, aligned with your daily activities. And that alignment is part of what really creates distinction for you personally, not just professionally. So that's what that is about as well. So we want to be talking about gratitude today, and gratitude is a big thing in my life. It's one of the things that I've tried to practice. When I was a kid, I grew up in a small town. Many of you know this, in Crothersville, Indiana. It's a small community, about 1,500 people, a little bit north of Louisville, Kentucky. And when I was growing up there, part of the family tradition was attending the Methodist Church. And it was the very first time I really stood up in front of people to speak. I was asked when the minister was gone. They thought it'd be cool to let some kid, play minister for a day or bring a message. So they asked me to give the sermon in place of our minister, who wasn't there that Sunday. And our church started at 9:30. The minister started speaking at 10 and would speak until 10:20. And then church dismissed at 10:20. And then we went to Sunday school at 10:30. Our minister ministered at two different churches, right? So we had church first and Sunday school second. Then he'd run to the other church, 20, 25 miles away. And they had Sunday school first and church second. So he would dash in. So that's why the timing was so precise, was to get him out of there to get him into the next church. So they asked me, I worked on this thing so hard you can't believe it. I mean, I practiced my sermon. I gave it over and over to my cows. I gave it over and over in my bedroom. I had my sermon memorized. My cows had my sermon memorized. I mean, it was down to the word. I timed it. I was ready, right? And so church starts that Sunday morning. And for the first time, ever, I'm sitting at the front of church looking back at all of the people I've grown up going to church with. And I'll never forget, big old General Electric clock hanging on the back wall. And I'm sitting there, and that half an hour from 9:30 to 10 o'clock to this instant remains the longest 30 minutes of my life. I am so nervous because I knew I went to church with everybody in the group, right? I knew everyone. So finally it's 10 o'clock, and now it's my time to deliver my sermon. And I thought, man, I'm going to lay it on them, right? They've asked me to do this. I'm really going to, So I still remember grabbing the pulpit, the lectern there in the church, holding it so tight. I just thought my fingers were going to break or break through the wood or whatever. And I also remember when I finished looking at the sweat stain on the, because my hands were sweating, perspiring so badly. And I went up there and I told him everything I knew and told him things I didn't know. And I thought I was flowing so much. I even told him I just had this huge story, and I finished up with a prayer, sat down, looked up, and the clock said 10:04. I'd gone 4 minutes. And, I'd finished with a prayer, and everybody had their head down, and they, most churches are not geared for silence, right? If there's silence, somebody's messed up, and the organist is still sitting in the congregation, and he kind of makes a mad dash to the front and starts. And I was so embarrassed. My adrenaline was so high that I guess I just rushed through everything or forgot something that I didn't realize I forgot. I mean, I just poured it out, right? And I looked down and I said, and nobody knew what to do. We'd never finished at 4 after before, right? We were not prepared for this. And our Sunday school superintendent, whose name was Leroy Sin, we always thought that was so funny that somebody named Sin was our Sunday school superintendent. He was Senn, but Leroy Sin got up and he said words that I will never forget. He kind of wistfully looked around, and he was a really, really wonderful individual. And he said, Scott, often we don't stop to appreciate the things that are around us. We don't appreciate our families enough. We don't appreciate our lives enough. We don't appreciate when a kid tries to do something that's normally associated with an adult. We just don't appreciate all that enough. And he said, I think we need to learn a lesson from your sermon, from your message this morning. And so because we have a little bit of time, and we obviously did, because we have a little bit of time, why don't we finish with everybody standing and singing a hymn? Count your blessings, name them one by one. And I got to tell you, that day, that moment taught me a lesson I will never forget about the importance of appreciation, of gratitude. And I'm not meaning this from a religious, perspective, a theological message or anything like that. But I think there's something really important in that viewpoint, that we count our blessings, but we name them one by one. Because when we name them, we are very specific about it. See, I believe in what we call the attitude of gratitude. I think that's really important, that we have an attitude where we are grateful for the things that are around us. But I also think that we've talked here before about thoroughness and about being specific. And I think that being specific and being precise is one of the things that will help us the most. Now, this is not an easy time for us to be counting our blessings and naming them one by one, right? But it's a critical exercise for all of us to take part in, a critical exercise for all of us to do. So we'll talk about that. Pam is one of the folks that knew me when I was 18. Now, when I did that sermon, I was 14. But you probably know me here the longest. Kid says, "Oh, I got a call. Can you repeat?" No, Ken, you'll have to wait on the replay. All right. Yeah, nice. I appreciate that. So let's talk about gratitude for a minute, and let's talk about how we do that. First of all, I think the attitude is important. Attitude is one of the few things over which you have 100% control. I mean, nobody can tell you what your attitude should be. And I think that's part of the challenge that we're having with conflicts in our country right now, is that people who have one particular perspective on what's happening in that attitude are trying to tell people with another perspective and another attitude what they should think and what their attitude should be. And man, that's never going to work. It's never going to work. People don't change their attitude because someone else has demanded it, has required it. People change their attitude when they come to a new realization. Either the realization that their current attitude isn't working out for them, or a realization, something that happens to get them to think about having a different way. So you can't change somebody's attitude by demand. You can't change someone else's attitude. The only thing that you could be is the catalyst, right? Either by what you say and how you say it. I think that's what speakers do. I've said for a long time, I don't believe there's any such thing as a motivational speaker. There's really not. If the speaker was what was motivating, then everybody in the audience would be motivated, right? If the speaker was the motivator, then everybody would be motivated. Instead, people get motivated for their own reasons. And the speaker is just a catalyst that gets somebody in the audience to think, I can do better. I can do better, or I can do something else, or I can do. So the speaker is never what is motivational. It is the speaker becomes the catalyst. Now, the better the speaker is, the more effective catalyst that she or he might be. But the speaker is a motivator. So it's the same with attitude. You can be the catalyst to help people see and change what their attitude is, but you can't change it by demand. So the attitude of gratitude is the foundation. It's the first of the steps. But I think the second step is being very specific about what you're grateful for. What are you grateful about? And sometimes it takes, Dwayne's got a good one here. Sometimes we just get a big slap of reality in our face, right? We get that something happened to us that makes us go, oh my God, it really, really wakes us up. Ken has a great quote here. A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. So true. Phil, we live better than 95% of the kings who have walked on the planet. Access to food, clothing, transportation, information, entertainment, eliminate. Phil, you are so right. I mean, that's part of my frustration here with part of what's going on. And I'm not trying to preach my side of the issue or not, but if the only reason that you think the doors need to open is because you're tired of sitting at home watching Netflix, I mean, come on. I mean, you can have food delivered to your door. You can have your groceries delivered to your door. I mean, don't get me wrong. I can't wait to go out. I was talking with a friend a while back. I mentioned this earlier, but I was talking with a friend a while back, and I was saying one of the first things I'm going to do is meet some pals at a bar. Not because I miss a drink. If I wanted a drink, I can have a drink here at home. I just miss the connection. I miss the connectivity. And that is part of the challenge that we have right now. Yeah, Diane, it's how it is delivered. Yeah, it's how it is delivered. And Dave, yes, grateful for your faith. Faith is one of the things that we put on the list. And so as the song says, to count your blessings, name them one by one, it means that one of the ways that we can show our gratitude and one of the ways that we can enhance our gratitude is we start listing it. Now, isn't it interesting that when we start noticing things, we notice more things? Here's what I mean by that. Have you ever bought a car and man, you really liked the car, and as soon as you drove off the lot, it seemed like everybody was driving the same car? Did you notice that, right? Oh my God, there's another. Wait, there's another one. How come this many of this particular car until I bought one? And psychologists call that the reticular activating system. In other words, in a part of our brain, once we have that, it activates that to notice it more. So it's not that there are more of those kinds of cars than there were before you bought one. It's that something in your brain is triggered because you now have one to notice more of them. And so it's like we flip the switch of learning. So what happens when we start being more grateful and writing down what we're grateful about is that switch flips and we start seeking subconsciously more things for which to be grateful. So that's part of why I have a little gratitude checklist. It's in part of what I do in a daily planner every day is to write down, 2 or 3 things that I'm grateful for every day. And sometimes they're the same thing. Or sometimes they are so small, it wouldn't be necessarily significant to you. I mean, one of the things I wrote down a day or two ago was I'm grateful for my dog, Lucy. She has such a great attitude in the morning, wake up in the morning and she's like so excited and she's so glad to see me. And she said, and I want that puppy-like kind of enthusiasm about life to a degree, right? So I wrote that down as something I'm grateful for. It's funny when you start noticing things, you start noticing more things. So keeping that point of gratitude, I think is really good. Oh, I appreciate that, Dwayne. Thank you for putting daily distinction on your list. I really, really appreciate it. Ken, you're so right. Gratitude begets gratitude. So what I'd like for you to do, what I'd suggest for you to do, what I'd encourage you to do is just begin your gratitude list. And it doesn't have to be anything long, or it can be even minor things, right? I mean, it could be, but write it down, name it one by one. That would really be something to celebrate on Cinco de Mayo. All right, we're going to pull the names here of those who get the free book, but I'll just remind you before we do that, you've seen Ken commenting on here. Ken's a great pal, and he and our other friend, Glenn Morshower, the well-known character actor from 24 and the Transformer movies and the Fox show The Resident. Ken and Glenn with a guy named Scott is a show we have every Sunday night. Set a reminder. It's 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. Would love to see you there. Also, don't forget to go to distinctionnation.com. That's where our free resources are. Love to see you sign up there and go from there. All right, so we put everybody's name in a hat. The lovely Tammy has drawn 3 names, and these are pulled from people who shared about the program. So if you shared about the program. So what I'd like for you to do is if your name is called, just drop me a message through Facebook or somewhere. You can also write to me at iconic@scottmccain.com. Iconic@scottmccain.com will come to me. And so here we go. Ready for the three names? We have three names, and here's the first one. Bruce. Congratulations. You're the first name that was pulled from the hat. So, Bruce, you're going to get a free book shipped to you. Oh, by the way, thank you, Dave. I appreciate that you watched the Ken and Glenn show with a guy named Scott. Yeah, Lucy, yay, made it through another night. All right, here we go. Here is name number 2. Oh, from back in Indiana, Talene. Thank you for sharing. Appreciate it. You're one of the winners. There we go. And name number 3. Somebody else noticed, by the way, he had more than one entry in here because he shared on Facebook and Twitter, I think, as well. So Jeffrey Wolf is name number 3. So we will be giving away more books and more great things coming up. So giveaways are going to be a constant part of what we do. So make sure that you keep watching because we're going to have some more giveaways. And for those 3 folks, if you'll contact me, we'll get the address and figure out how you want the book and all that kind of stuff. And we'll be there too. Hey, the reminder too, we'll get the days squared away in the next day or so. I can let you know specifically when he's going to be here, but Joe Bonsall of the Oak Ridge Boys is going to be one of our guests. And along with that, we've got Phil Jones of Exactly What to Say, Derek Kinslow, the road manager for the Oaks, going to talk about the concert business and what do businesses do when things go crazy like they've been. So they're going to be joining us here over the next few days. So thanks everybody for watching. I really appreciate it. It's always great being with you, and I'm thrilled. We're going to work some more on getting the office studio put together and get everything going. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Please share this because believe it or not, most of our viewers are on the replay, and I hate that in a way. I mean, I'm thrilled you watch, but I kind of hate it because I don't get to see your comments as much. So you can comment on our Facebook fan page or wherever. So thanks as always for watching. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow once again for Daily Decisions.